We on a rescue operation with syllabalization called projectilification. Save you from your own civilization. It's like we all living in the painting that's framed in flames and critically hanging inside. Are we trying to escape it? Subliminally blazing, straight amazing. Projectilification.
So in 1990, I believe,
1990?
Morton Downey Jr. was a shock jock. He was basically like Jerry Springer before Jerry Springer. Super. He was just all about outrage, having as sort of much drama as possible. He had a daytime talk show where he would bring like fucking neo-Nazis and Black Panther people and have them like.
He was like honestly the beginning of that whole. Not to cut you off, sorry. Beginning of the whole Jerry Springer movement.
Yeah, exactly
Right?
what I just said. Yeah. And Phil Donahue I think came right after him, and then anyway, so the point was he was getting some competition, and it was looking like his ratings were getting lower, and so one day he decided to stage an assault, and so he had a couple of Nazis, or supposedly had a couple of Nazis, attack him in a bathroom and beat him up and draw fucking backwards swastikas on his face. And he claimed, that he was the victim of a hate crime because he's Jewish or whatever. And then it turned out after like literally 5 minutes of investigation that in fact Morton Downey Jr. had assaulted himself, and it was all a big hoax to try to get attention for a failing show, which of course was canceled shortly thereafter.
I was gonna say it does.
But like to make matters even more comically parallel, part of what gave Morton Downey Jr. away was the fact that he hit the swastikas that he drawn on his face, and he drew them on his face too. The swastikas that he drew on his face apparently were drawn backwards, the way that someone staring in a mirror would draw a swastika on themselves.
Oh, my fault.
Not the way that a person would draw a swastika on someone else's face. So yeah, he was given away from the get-go, and it's hard to believe that Jussie Smollett would not have heard about that.
I think he had.
Although, to be honest with you, if he had done that much research into it, it's hard to believe that he would have thought he would have gotten away with this, or that he would have done some of the things that he did, which prevented him from getting away with it. For example, using the two Nigerian brothers who for some reason are the ones that are also screaming.
How you spell Jessie Smollett? How you spell his last name?
Smollett is S-M-O-L-L-E-T-T.
L-L-E.
Two L's and two T's.
2 L's and 2 T's.
But anyway, I mean, everything about it, having two Nigerian brothers that are gonna do a hate crime on you and scream, MAGA, number one. Number two, paying them in check form.
Paying them in a check.
Wait, he paid him in a check.
He paid them in a check. Yeah.
He paid them in a
Well, the
check.
biggest thing got me was just when I saw the two guys that he supposedly paid, I was like, wait, that's the guy wearing a MAGA hat?
That's who committed this hate crime on you?
But you know what? Going back to what you were saying, like, I think it's a situation where, the dumbest things come about when people feel like they're smarter than everybody else. I feel like it's a situation where he just felt like he was smarter than everybody else. So,
God, he's dumb.
like, stupid. So the question is, we were saying that maybe he got the inspiration from
Morton Downey Jr. Yeah. It's one would say, I mean, if he did,
I think so.
If he did, God, he's stupid, because it did not work well for Morton Downey Jr. at all. It ruined his career.
Right, but if you have the, here's the thing, if you have the ego,
Okay, Tupac.
if you have the egotistical goal to get on to do everything that he did, like pay with a check, like the trail of evidence that he left, and then get on television and with that performance, you don't think that he thought he was smart enough to succeed where Morton Downey Jr. failed? that's a good idea. But I know where he went wrong.
Okay, I get that. I get that. I
can do it better.
I totally get being arrogant enough to think that you could pull that off.
Right.
But if you're arrogant enough to think that you could pull that off, it implies that you put some thought into the fucking thing to begin with. What? Meaning, if you put some thought into it, maybe you should think enough to not use two African brothers to commit a hate crime against you, also an African American, although he's not African American. This is an important point, okay? Jussie Smollett is not African American. He's African Australian, okay?
He's African Australian, yeah.
He is not African American.
Barely African Australian.
There's a big fucking difference, okay?
He's like Australian.
That is not African American, okay?
Like Australian. Australian.
I mean,
you don't even get the R. It's just the AF Australian.
I say that to say this, because, and we were talking about this a little earlier in the car, and maybe I'm sounding a little MAGA here or something, but I find it doubly infuriating that anyone would perpetrate this for all the obvious reasons, right? What it will do to future victims. But for any American to be so cynical as to sort of take advantage of the racial and cultural animus going on right now is bad enough. But for someone to come from outside of our country and our culture, to come into this country, to have benefited so much from our fucked up ass culture, as Jussie Smollett has, making, how many millions of dollars he's made in his less than a decade in this country.
Right.
And then to so cynically say, oh, that wasn't enough, let me squeeze out a little bit more by capitalizing off of how fucked up the racial and cultural animus is in our country in general, and particularly at this moment in time. It's a fucking powder keg. Even if he does get away with this, right, and it doesn't turn out that he is in fact a fake victim trying to capitalize off of the goodwill of millions of other Americans in this country, even if it doesn't turn out that that's what he's done, right, he still turned up the temperature on the racial animus going on in the country by being another high-profile victim, right? And so, therefore, making the tension even that much worse by adding another incident for all of us to have to debate, to think about and contemplate. And so, even if he doesn't get turned out to be a total fake and a fraud, it still is bad enough. But now,
at this point, it's kind of.
But now, so either way, it's terrible, right? Yeah. So I guess my point is getting back to the fact that it's bad enough for an American to do this to our own culture. It's even worse to have someone that's come from outside of our country here and to have benefited so much from the fucked up culture that we have. Right. And then to sit there and say, well, that's not enough. Let me try to poison it a little bit more because I don't think I've made enough millions off of it.
That's a really interesting way of looking at it. And actually, I don't think out of all the footage and coverage and whatever I've seen, I don't think anybody have put it like that. But it's like you said, I mean, because I think people automatically assume that he's African American.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And they don't even realize that he's Australian. He don't even get the R, just AF Australian, right? So in a sense, like, you come over here, and not only do you take advantage of or worsen the climate, but the climate that we have is a direct result of everything bad that has happened to us in American history.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Everything where we are right now is a result of everything that has happened bad in American history. You know what I'm saying?
So now he get to come in at the tail end of it after having never experienced any of it, no one in your family tree has ever had to experience any of the injustices or the various different types of struggle. I'm sorry, I'm cutting you. I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, you good.
But so you're basically getting to come in and piggyback off all the suffering that's occurred, and you get to come out here at the very end of it. It's sort of like, I guess, kind of like the modern day basketball players who are able to make, tens of millions of dollars off of in the NBA right now, whereas, guys that were playing back in the 1960s, 1970s, who, were playing for pennies, comparatively speaking, or more. I think football is an even better comparison because guys ruin their bodies even more. But that's different. Even so, that's just saying you owe a debt to the people that have come before you. But in this situation, like you're talking about, or like we're talking about, you have an individual coming from outside of the culture, totally coming to capitalize off the worst elements of it. And I mean, let me let you.
Nah, you good. Nah, trust me, you good. So like I'm trying to parallel that to something like let's say you got a crib, and let's say you trapping out your crib, right? Say you trapping out your crib, and it ain't a well-known thing, but people know. So let's say you bring in somebody, a foreign exchange student. I don't know. I mean, why would you do that now? Let's say it's a distant cousin, right? You bring in a distant cousin to your crib. You know what I'm saying? You got a little situation. You scrambling, trying to pay the bills, but you doing a little hustling on the side. You selling a little bud, whatever you doing. You know what I'm saying? Selling pills, whatever it is. You know what I'm saying? You got the Adderall. That's your little hustle, right? And somebody come along, and because they feel like they should be able to get a bigger bowl of cereal, you know what I'm saying? They bowl of cereal ain't big enough. You know what I mean? They should be able to eat a punch bowl of cereal. So because they feel like they need to eat a punch bowl of cereal, you know what I'm saying? They make a fake claim that they're getting abused and have the police come, and then they bust up the whole operation. You feel what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So they came over, they just took advantage just because you want a bigger bowl of cereal.
You go fuck it up for everybody. All right, so getting back to the gay Tupac, I mean Jessie Smollett. I can't believe.
Wait a minute, what is a gay Tupac though?
He would be the modern day.
Is there like can you be a heterosexual Elton John? Is there like a heterosexual Boy George? Is that possible?
That is not possible.
Can you be Boy George without being without being a homosexual?
I don't think you can, because I feel like Boy George is so defined by his sexuality that you could not be and not gay.
So how can you redefine somebody and then say you're that person? I don't understand.
Man, I just think that motherfucker lost his goddamn mind. That's all I think. I'm the gay too. Don't worry, I fought him off too.
But I fought.
Motherfucker. Okay, so the question is, did Jussie Smollett get his idea for staging this hate crime from Morton Downey Jr.?
I'm gonna say he did.
Or did he get it from Tupac Shakur?
I'm gonna say both. I'm
just kidding. He obviously did not get it from Tupac Shakur.
But listen, I mean, he could have. Why not? You know what I mean? Elements of it. It was obviously an inspiration because he got up and said it, right?
I mean, I think Tupac in general is sort of an inspiration. He wanted people to think that. Tupac is the sort of quintessential righteous gangster. You know what I'm saying?
But Tupac was also.
That was his image. I'm not saying that's exactly what
abuse though. Like he was. He couldn't stage it with police officers, of course. You know what I'm saying? But what happened early in Tupac's career? He got beat up by the police. You know what I mean?
Yeah, lots.
So that part of his story could have been part of the inspiration.
Yeah, but Tupac didn't stage that.
I know he didn't stage it. I mean, he didn't know people was going to think he staged it. So, you know what I mean? He thought he was doing something that people was going to think was authentic.
I think Tupac probably kind of partially did stage it by like just intentionally creating static with police.
You know that interview that he gave when he was talking about the police beating him up. You know that was the same day of the release of his first album, right?
Was that the interview that you and I were just watching a second ago?
No.
The different one? No, I wasn't aware of that.
Yeah, the interview where he was like, I got harassed and they beat me up and it was for jaywalking. That interview aired the day his album dropped.
Oh.
That's a fact.
Why would they? I'm surprising that they would even be doing an interview with him before his album drop. I mean, like a
publicity. I mean,
yeah, but
I'm not saying whether that situation was real or not. What I'm saying is, in the rap game.
But wait, maybe we should inform people what
everybody rappers since Tupac and Eazy-E and NWA and whoever, like they've always, try to spin their misfortune to benefit their record sales.
Yeah, but never before has a rapper claimed to be the victim of a hate crime.
Well, he's not a rapper anyway. He's talking about Smollett, right?
You're right. Well, he kind of. I think he was trying
Smollett.
to segue into becoming an entertainer of some sort, right? I mean, like when he
He's not a rapper though.
was he singer rapper?
He's a singer. He's like
all these motherfucking singers think they can be rappers, dude.
I don't understand. I don't even see the difference no more.
I mean,
rappers sing now. Like, I mean, rappers like, okay, I remember when T-Pain came out, he was a singer. But now everybody's doing what T-Pain's doing, and that's rap. I don't get that, but whatever.
well, the bar has clearly dropped significantly, but now we're digressing. So, point is, the Morton Downey Jr. thing, for people that aren't aware, you guys can Google this. It happened back in like 89, 90. Morton Downey Jr. was one of the original daytime shock talk show hosts before Phil Donahue and before Jerry Springer. He was that thing. He's kind of what defined that entire job title.
Who was first, Morton Downey Jr. or Geraldo?
I believe Morton Downey Jr.
I believe Morton Downey Jr.
Yeah.
I think he set it all off.
Yeah, he was the first one to put all these incendiary groups of people together and try to create combustible reactions.
Yep.
And he, was running out of shtick towards, after a few years, and he faked a hate crime. He faked being the victim of a neo-Nazi hate crime. He trapped himself in a bathroom, in an airport bathroom, and claimed that he was assaulted by a couple of neo-Nazi skinheads who assaulted him, and then they used magic markers to draw swastikas on his face. And it did not take long, and it took so little time that it was not even the local police that were able to determine through their highly advanced deductive reasoning skills. It was in fact the airport security that was able to logically deduce by the fact that
So Paul Blart, the mall cop,
was the one that figured out that Morton Downey Jr. had drawn these swastikas on his face himself, because they were backwards in exactly the way that a person would draw a swastika on one's face if you were looking in the mirror. Exactly. So he gets caught for this. His show, of course, is canceled very shortly thereafter, and no one hears from Morton Downey Jr. again for 15, 20 years. Yeah. He now is relegated to occasional cameos and parts and rehash.
The swastika drawn backwards is actually
that's actually a Buddhist symbol.
Yeah, the Buddhist symbol for peace, right? Peace or is it peace or balance?
I forget
One
exactly what. I'm sure it's a lot more complicated than either one of those two terms are, but essentially it's the exact opposite of what the Nazis.
That's the point I'm trying to make. It's literally the exact opposite. So I wonder if airport security guy, maybe he was a Buddhist or something. He's like, well, wait a minute, that's not even a swastika. That's that's the Buddhist symbol for peace. Man, everybody start looking at each other like, wait a minute. Start looking at
that image on his face looks stupid. I mean, he just looks. I mean, it's pretty hard to believe that a Nazi wouldn't have drawn a better swastika on his face. But yeah, anyways, it did not work out very well for him at all.
So here's my take. I think he got inspiration from it. Because here's my thing, right? Here's my argument to that. Okay. The one thing we know about Jessie Smollett is this. He is an actor. Okay? Not just by trade. If he wasn't getting paid to be an actor, he would be a con man. He's an actor. He'd be somewhere lying to people.
He was, man. For real, the way he was able to give those interviews and constantly talk about this
talented.
He's talented.
Talented.
He was fairly convincing.
Certain people are born into who you are. Like I firmly believe. Just going back, sidetrack a little bit, right? Certain rappers are rappers, and certain rappers are actors. You know what I'm saying? Tupac Shakur was an actor who can rap.
Biggie, on the other hand, was a rapper.
Biggie, on the other hand, was a rapper. You
would never see Biggie in a bunch of different roles playing different people. Will Smith. If Biggie ever was in a movie, he would be playing himself or would be doing a really shitty job.
Right. Will Smith was an actor who can rap.
Oh, yeah, totally.
History has already vindicated that. You know what I'm saying? Ice Cube, same thing. He was an actor who could rap.
You don't think Ice Cube? I feel like Ice Cube was maybe one of those weird combinations of kind of both, actually.
No. Ice Cube was an actor who can rap. Ice Cube's whole persona in NWA was an act. Fact. He did not grow up. He wasn't from Compton. He didn't grow up in Compton. He grew up he grew up in in a middle class family,
Yeah,
mother and
he was a
father.
pretty good rapper. And he wrote all his own shit. I mean, you don't think maybe
He was an actor who could rap. Certain people are what they are, right? Certain people are what they
And
are.
that motherfucker
Certain people
is
are
an
what they
actor.
are. He is an actor. Through and through, right? So what we know about him is that he's an actor. Even if you look into the method, like he had to rehearse. He's such an actor that he had to rehearse the beating. He couldn't even he couldn't even stage the attack without doing what an actor does. Rehearse. Right? He had to rehearse it.
This shit is so funny.
He had to rehearse it, right? So we know he's an actor. So one thing that is very important to the craft of acting is motivation.
Well, so is research, though. You know what I'm saying?
Research and motivation, right.
Research,
Right.
right? So if I want to be the victim of a hate crime by a bunch of Trump supporters,
Right.
you know, maybe I
And
should
even though
get
that failed miserably, he probably thought, I could do it better.
maybe I should get some Trump supporters who aren't Nigerians. You know what I'm saying? Maybe when I pay these actors to play this part, I should typecast a little better. You know what I'm saying? Worked in Hollywood for 100 years. Secondly, maybe I should research how a conspiracy operates, right? And when they are able to investigate conspiracies, the way that they're able to prove that they exist generally is through paper trails, i.e. the way people are paid off in the conspiracy, i.e. don't pay your fucking Nigerian MAGA lovers in a check, dumb fuck. Seriously, you think you're so fucking smart you're gonna, play all of our entire country? Do a fucking little bit of research, dipshit. You know what I mean? Pay them in cash. Or, how about this? When they attack you, have them wear masks of some sort so they obscure their appearance. So that they're, when they're waiting for you on camera.
Right.
It's not.
This
it's not
reminds
really,
me of that scene from Snatch.
Or, he could have. He does a lot of shit. Reminds me of Snatch, actually. Or he could have just been the victim of a hate crime. He didn't even have to add in that they were Donald Trump supporters. He could have been the victim of a homophobic hate crime without having them. And those two brothers could have played that part perfectly well.
Okay, let me ask you this question.
Once again, don't pay them with a check.
Do you think he just poorly planned it or poorly executed?
I think he's the dumbest motherfucker to walk motherfucking planet Earth. And I think that a person that stupid can't possibly do anything but poorly execute a shittily thought out plan. I think it's a combination of both.
You think it's a combination of both?
Combination of both, yeah. It just goes to show you, man. These fucking actors, dog. They're other people give them roles. They give them lines. They're not improvising shit. They're not writing the scripts. They're just, you know what I'm saying. These fuckers are they're developmentally disabled. Okay.
They're developmentally disabled.
That is that kind of
you
thinking.
Gonna have a bunch of hate comments from actors, dog.
I mean. Not all actors. I don't think all actors are developmentally disabled, obviously. There's plenty of very talented actors out there. I just think acting in general is incredibly overrated as a skill.
I think it has its place.
And I think obviously we want to be entertained, so we're going to need actors to entertain us. However, that doesn't mean that I think most of them are geniuses. I think the real intelligence and skill that goes into that whole industry has a lot more to do with the directing, the script writing, the creative element
I might have to disagree
than
with you
acting.
on that, man. There's some. I mean, because really acting is essentially being able to portray an emotion and get people to feel that emotion. And there are people. Jessie Smollett is good at it. I mean, if you watch Empire, the boy got chops. Take everything else away. He's a good actor, but I'll take it to people like I'm a fan of acting.
Obviously,
like
I think he's a fairly
Robert De Niro.
Obviously, I think he's a fairly talented actor. I haven't even watched the show,
Washington,
but I have watched a
you know
couple
what
of
I'm
his
saying?
interviews that he did, and he was somewhat convincing
phenomenal.
in his lies, and he was improvising those lies.
Phenomenal.
He's improvising those lies.
He did. That was a phenomenal. you know, I recognize talent. That's one thing. Like or love you or hate you or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like, I do appreciate someone who's good at what they do. Doesn't matter what it is. You know what I'm saying? And I'm watching them like, yo, this dude is really good. I mean, he really is. I mean, I watched.
Wait. What were you watching when you were saying that? Like the show?
The interview.
Or the interview?
Because the thing about me, when I watched the interview after everything came out.
Okay, yeah.
So
I had not seen it until after it came out either.
Selling this joint.
Yeah.
But nah, going back, like I said,
there was a point in it, because I watched it afterwards as well, and honestly, there was a point in it where he just seemed overly defensive. And this was before it was exposed that it was a hoax.
Right.
And I just remember thinking to myself, in his tonality and some of it, because he's talking about how rumors had gotten out that he had said they were wearing red hats, and he didn't really say they were wearing red hats, and he didn't have to make up something for it to be more significant than it was. They screamed that he was, they screamed that he was a faggot and this other stuff, and that was enough to be a hate crime. And I was just thinking, like, man, he's just like, he just seems overly at that point of the interview. I started thinking to myself, he just seems like overly defensive. It's weird. Now, maybe it was easy for me to like think that because I knew the outcome already, and so I'm like watching it thinking I already know that it's
right.
it's fake.
Right.
So perhaps I guess the only reason I was just bringing the whole actors are stupid thing is just that we do have a slight capacity to like deify celebrity in general, and in particular actors.
Yeah.
And I think that we do not even what we value in actors is not even the stuff that you're talking about,
right.
Which I completely agree is a highly valuable and rare talent. We actually value the celebrities, not the great actors. The best, highest paid actors in Hollywood right now are not the best actors. They're just the ones who happen to have the greatest amount of celebrity status, and so therefore they get 20 million.
Michael B. Jordan. I like Michael B. Jordan, but I don't think he's much of an actor. I think Will Smith sucks as an actor.
There you go. And
I think everything Will Smith in, I just see Will Smith. Like, I watched Chadwick Boseman. I like Chadwick Boseman.
Yeah.
See, those are like dudes like Chadwick Boseman can act. I watched him play James Brown. I saw James Brown.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Then I turn around and watch him play T'Challa. He's T'Challa. Like, you can't even think of T'Challa right now without thinking of Chadwick Boseman.
Not at all.
You know what I'm saying? And you know, before all that, you watch Jackie Robinson. It's like, it's not a lot of footage of Jackie Robinson, so it's not much to equate him to, but he did such a good job in that movie that he became the face of Jackie Robinson. He became the personality of Jackie Robinson. That's because that's all you know was him. So, but Will Smith, every time I see him, I just see Will Smith. Same thing with Mark Wahlberg. I just see Mark Wahlberg. Tom Cruise, he's another one. Tom Cruise, everything Tom Cruise is in, I just see Tom Cruise. You know what I'm saying? So I think that
Tom Cruise definitely plays himself.
In
it's
everything.
Like slightly different versions of himself.
I seen him in one thing that he actually acted in. What you think it was?
One thing that he acted in?
I can't say that because people gonna get mad at me. Say, well, what about what is it? What is it? Show Me the Money. What's the movie? Jerry Maguire.
Jerry Maguire,
Which really, I think he was just playing Tom Cruise, but
I mean, I think that's a perfect example of Tom Cruise playing a pretty basic sort of vanilla role. I mean, that's an example. I'm not gonna say he wasn't acting in that, but he wasn't sort of doing anything outside of himself whatsoever.
Right.
It wasn't like you could sort of imagine kind of that being more or less who Tom Cruise kind of was in that moment. It wasn't like he was playing a completely different character. Like, for example, when he played Lestat in Interview with the Vampire.
I forgot about that.
Which I thought was, a phenomenal role. That
my favorite Tom Cruise role is Les Grossman.
Which was the role from Tropic Thunder.
Yes.
I thought he was awesome in that.
That is my favorite Tom Cruise role of all time.
That was awesome, man.
Les
come on. That kind of proved that Tom Cruise actually can act. Actually,
I kind of got to retract a little bit. You know what I'm saying? You know what I mean?
Small role, and he had the help of a lot of prosthetics.
Who here is the director? You. And who
that
here,
shit was
and
so
who here is the
funny.
key grip? You. I want you to go over there and punch that guy in the face
And
really fucking hard.
I mean, it's kind of crazy how what's his name was able to get away with blackface in that
Robert Downey Jr.?
Yeah, how Robert Downey Jr.
True.
was able to get away with blackface. And was Robert Downey Jr. related to Morton Downey Jr.? I wonder. Maybe.
You know what?
Are they
You
related?
know what?
They look
You know
kind
what?
of alike
You know
too.
what? Let me. You know
I bet
what?
they are related.
When I first heard of
Maybe they're
Robert Downey
cousins
Jr., it was, what movie was it?
He could have been his son.
What was his first movie? What was his first
Robert
breakout
Downey
movie?
Jr. was
Robert
a star
Downey
in the
Jr.
80s.
I'm talking about, what was his first breakout movie? I'm trying to remember.
He was a
Anyway,
big star
whatever
in
it
the
was,
1980s.
yeah, he was huge. But I'm trying to think of his break because he fell off and he came back.
Yeah,
Like
he had a
Iron
big
Man.
drug problem.
Oh, you're right. But I'm trying to think of his breakout movie. Anyway, whatever it was, I watched it and I remember wondering, was he Morton Downey Jr.'s son? I never even put any more thought into it. I'm gonna look that up.
Well, he couldn't be because
You don't
if
think
he was
so?
Morton
Probably
Downey Jr., he would be
Morton Downey Jr.
he would be the third, right?
Morton Downey Jr.
It would be say Robert is his like really his middle name and Morton is actually his first name, but then he would be
Yeah.
Robert Downey Jr. the third or something.
You don't think they're related in any
I think
way?
they're probably cousins or something.
They might be related.
Maybe
to
like their
something. All
dad.
them dudes be related though.
Yeah, I mean it's
a
hard
lot of,
to.
there's a lot of, bloodlines is huge in entertainment, sports, and all that other
They
stuff.
could be cousins or something. I'd be interested to
That'd be
actually
interesting to
to
find out.
research that on a completely side note. But anyway, I think it also once again gives us back to the topic or the side topic that we were talking about earlier, which is that this proves once and for all that not all press is good press.
Right.
Because in the case of good old Morton Downey Jr., Bob's cousin.
Right.
Bob Jr.'s cousin, as well as Jessie Smollett. I mean, I find it hard to believe that
I don't
Smollett's
think
gonna have a career
I
after
don't think
this.
it's come back. But I think what's more. Let me ask you this though. What do you think this does to just society as a whole moving forward? Because I feel like there are going to be some ramifications from this that are just going to ripple out, and I mean, could be something major, could be something minor, it could be nothing at all. You know what I'm saying? But what do you think? Because it was so high profile, and because it kind of just in this one act, there were so many different emotions from so many different groups that were vested into this one story that turned out to be a totally different story.
Well, here's one thing that I find like false in the premise, which is that somehow the people who initially came out and voiced support for Jessie Smollett should in any way feel stupid or should feel like they did the wrong thing,
Right.
or that there's nothing wrong with naturally empathizing with victims, and it's not as if Jussie Smollett had, was pointing the finger at particular people, and all those who had voiced support for him were saying, well, this person's obviously done it, let's lynch that person. You know what I mean?
Right.
People were just voicing their support for a person who was perceived to be a victim, and they gave that person the benefit of the doubt, which I think is the right thing to do.
Mm-hmm.
So number one, those people should not feel in any way that they were bad about the fact that their good faith was taken advantage of. Like they say, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. Right?
Mm-hmm.
So, but that doesn't mean that people should stop being empathetic and stop being naturally give the benefit of the doubt to people who are
What do you
victims.
think people will though? That's the question. Do you think this is something that will make people now begin to,
I think that if you-
every time that there's something, I mean, because on
Yes,
one end,
I think
on one end you have, I'm sorry, I'm gonna cut you off, but on one end you have, you may have people. This is all speculation at this point. People who feel like, okay, man, this is a good opportunity to perpetuate a hate crime, because if someone reports it, it's going to automatically be scrutinized because of what happened with Jessie Smollett. Or, you know what I'm saying? Or, you know what I mean? People who, okay, it just happened to happen to someone. It's organically grown hate crime, or if that's such a thing of, and people are now hesitant to come forth.
I think
and report it because of.
I think the effect will be to amplify whatever is in people's hearts already. So I think that if you are the kind of person who is predisposed to sympathizing with victimizers rather than victims, then you are going to take advantage of this situation and use that to leverage greater suspicion onto those who claim to be victims, right? You're going to go on social media, and whenever, someone has claimed that they have, say, been the victim of police violence, or has been the recipient of some sort of discriminatory behavior, you are going to use this situation as a reason to not believe any of those people.
Right.
But the fact of the matter is, you were already predisposed to doing that before.
Right.
I think that's on those individuals. I think that the people that I'm worried about, particularly, are future victims. And like you said, victimizers who are emboldened because they know that they have a greater blanket under which to operate.
Right.
And yeah, I think there are gonna probably be more of those out there. I think that there are also going to be more people who are less likely to come forward because this is so heavily sort of, I don't want to say promoted, but it has been so heavily put out there. And because somehow there seems to be this presupposition that those who voice support for Smollett are somehow in the wrong initially.
Right.
But they have egg on their face somehow, which isn't the case at all. The only person that has egg on their face, to use that stupid cliche, is Smollett and those two Nigerian fellas who helped him out. Those are the only two people that should feel stupid. Or people.
Okay, let me ask you a question.
On another level, I just want to say this one thing though. Here's one thing that I do find frustrating and annoying on social media is I keep seeing all these people who post these sort of gotcha sort of memes. Like, now, if we're gonna prosecute Jussie Smollett for hoaxing his own hate crime, then we need to go after Pool Party Paula, or we need to go after such and such, all these other people that have, done this and that. And the fact of the matter is, that's true. Those people, if they, if you file a false 911 call, on people, then, that's a crime, and you should be cited for it, to be sure. but the way that people are, I feel like, going out of their way to make these social media posts, it just seems real tit for tat-ish. In that regard, it seems like it's petty. Exactly. And it's like outside of the spirit, I feel like, which is what the greater issue, which is that there actually is violence behind some of this shit.
Right.
And that's the bigger issue, rather than winning some sort of cultural debate.
But society is petty.
That is definitely. Pool Party Paula need to be put in jail. I'll tell you what, Pool Party Paula had to spend a little bit of time in jail for on the real.
I think what should come out of this. First of all, I think that they should prosecute Jessie Smollett to the fullest extent of the law. And I think that should be. I think that there should be some sort of law that. I think that the law should be tougher on these type of people.
What do you mean these type? You mean like celebrities, or you mean
I'm just talking about people who
try to take advantage
of certain situations, certain whatever situations that we're in culturally, in order to get some sort of personal, enact some sort of personal vendetta, right? Because Jussie Smollett is no different than. Well, I ain't gonna say no different. The situation, of course, is different, but the spirit behind it is the same, and that's the lady who lied on Emmett Till. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And even came forth all these years and finally admitted, like, yeah, I was lying. I lied. You know what I mean? And I feel like you know, there should be something in place, or there should be some law in place that, you know, because you have that, you have, you know, the girl that allegedly lied on Tupac, or you know, whoever. Just so many different cases where, you know, lies were told in court just to enact some sort of personal vendetta, or some sort of personal gain, and you destroy someone's life over it.
No, the Emmett Till situation, the specifics of that were that Emmett was young man from Chicago, visiting family members down in Mississippi, and he was in the local sharecropper sort of grocery store, and he had like whistled or allegedly whistled, leered at, somehow had some sort of inappropriate interaction with the lady that ran the store. I forget what the lady's name was, but the point is, he didn't do anything even illegal, but somehow she had reported him to the sheriff who had picked him up. That's correct, and arrested him. I don't even know if he was even picked up on a charge, but he was held. And then
this was during a time where, you know, it was legal to beat up.
It
was legal to victimize black folks.
Completely. And then so was
illegal. It was illegal to be black out of your place.
Was the situation? I forget exactly specifically what happened, but was it that he was in the local courthouse at the time? Not courthouse, the local jail at the time, and the lynch mob actually came and picked him up out of the jail, or was he on the way to the jail and they picked him up in the car? I think that's what happened. It doesn't really matter. Point is, this woman it doesn't even matter if she lied or she didn't lie. That whether or not he even did this, because clearly whatever she claimed he did.
But she already admitted she lied. Let's be clear about that.
But it wouldn't even have mattered. I mean, it certainly wouldn't have justified anything that followed to anyone then or now.
Right.
And she clearly would have had to have known that saying that had happened would have led to that. You know what I mean? So like.
But that's the point that I'm trying to make. Is that when you do these things like Pool Party Paula and you know, all of these different people who, you know, Barbecue Betty and all, you know what I'm saying? You know, you're doing this in a time where the climate is police officers killing.
It's almost like
men.
they kind of
No, it ain't no kind of. That's exactly what it is. It's the same mentality from the lady who told on Emmett Till, knowing he would get lynched.
Maybe deep down they kind of hope that gunshots do, or maybe they just want to see some person get dragged, you know, on the ground, stomped by like 5 cops.
What other explanation is it? Is there another explanation? How can you the same way like really. You as Jessie Smollett, like, you know, like, why would you do this knowing this? You doing this knowing this because you're making a conscious choice to do it. It's the same thing. Like, you live in a society, you know that police officers.
There's going to be a predisposition to like.
There's a high probability that this black person could lose their life or could at least be brutalized in some way. Right? And at the end of the day, you're doing this not because this person is endangering someone's public safety or infringing on someone's rights or any of those type of things. You're doing this simply because you feel a certain way, right? And so you want to use whatever it is available to strike out at that person. You know what I mean? Regardless of how far it goes. It's the same thinking. And what I'm saying is that same thinking is directly correlated, is the same type of thinking en route to Jessie Smollett faking this whole thing, staging this whole thing, regardless of how it may affect people, you know, future, anyway, you know what I'm saying? Affect the now or the future. You know what I'm saying? Dealing with your ethnicity as a black person, your sexual orientation as a homosexual, you know what I'm saying? So forth and so on, so forth and so on. You know what I mean? Regardless
He
of
really
the
did
damage.
he tried to hit them all on all
right.
calibers too. Like
He
he tried
did.
to check
He hit
all.
them all.
He
He hit
could
them
have
all.
just been the victim of any homosexual hate crime,
Right.
but he tried to be the victim of like every
Right.
single. You know what I mean?
Right.
I'm gonna be anti-homosexual. They're gonna
Right.
attack me because I'm gay. They're gonna attack me because I'm
Right.
black.
Right.
So
I'm gonna enact my vendetta against MAGA hat wearing dudes. I'm gonna enact my vendetta against heterosexuals, whatever. You know what I'm saying? All in one lie. You know what I'm saying? Basically, for my own personal gain, I have no problem striking out and hurting other people. And in a sense, that's wrong. And what I'm saying is the law needs to be harsher on those type of
I
people.
agree totally because it's
This
so
needs
cynical.
to be right.
It's so cynical. You know what I mean?
But as we've learned with Emmett Till and certain other situations, that this type of thing could cause people to lose their life. You know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah.
So that's how I feel.
I'm the Shogun assassin, flow with a passion, float like a butterfly, sting like I'm Cassius. Not nigga senseless, I'm in your defense, it's relentless intent to condemn your